Good morning. June 10th, 2020. I'm Pastor Rusty, and this is your daily inspo. Well, I'm in Lexington doing some running around and been thinking as I drove down the interstate, and I've been considering what we've been talking about. We've been talking about prayer and how important it is to pray, and we've been talking about the specificity in prayer and how important that is. Yesterday we talked about praying for children. And it occurred to me this morning, thinking back through my studies in time past, and I realized something else that would be good for us to consider in prayer probably on a daily basis is prayer for God's guidance and protection so that our faith doesn't get shipwrecked. It's interesting because in 1 Timothy, Paul was warning Timothy about fighting the good fight. He told him that you need to, he says, I'm giving you these instructions, Timothy, my child, in accordance with prophecies made earlier about you, so that following them you may fight the good fight. Well, as a minister of the gospel, fighting that good fight, staying on task, and serving God. It says having faith and a good conscience. By rejecting conscience, some persons have suffered shipwreck in the faith. And he goes on and names a couple guys who had taught that the second coming was already over with and that their faith had now become shipwrecked. So I thought about that. I thought, that would probably be a good guardian prayer for us, to consider the things that are coming into our life this day that could shipwreck our faith. And if you've been in church service any time at all, you know of folks who were on fire for the Lord. I call them bottle rocket Christians. They were on fire for the Lord. They were screaming and going, and then pop, they were over with. They just quit for whatever reason. God didn't do this. God didn't do that. God didn't take care of this. God didn't protect their family. I've heard all kind of excuses for them to just give up on the Lord. And you witness a shipwrecked faith. Now, I don't believe people lose their salvation. What I do is I believe they lose their fellowship. They quit walking with God and letting Him guide them. They don't know how to count it all joy. They don't know how to consider that all things that are coming into their life, God's got a purpose for. So that's a good prayer for us today. That's something specific we can pray about. Paul in Corinthians talks about being shipwrecked, and he was thrown off. He was beaten with rods, and he had all these reasons to lose heart, he said. But we don't lose heart because we know that the truth of what God's doing in us is so much greater than any trouble or trial we're going through. So think about that today. This is something you can do today. Pray for God to guard your path and guard your heart and guard your mind so that you can fight the good fight and keep that conscience, that awareness of things that are going on, that consciousness of God ready for Him to work in your life. Remember, this is the day the Lord hath made. Rejoice and be glad in it. I'm Pastor Rusty. I'll talk to you tomorrow.